Welcome back to Kazouza Hamra. I'm Nora, and this is the podcast where we reclaim Arab narratives one story at a time. Today's guest is remarkable. She took her passion for reading and her community and started a nonprofit. Join me in welcoming Ruba. Hi, Ruba.
Hey,
welcome.
Nora.
How are you? How's
Good.
it going?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Good, good. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I know. I like this.
Let's start by talking
Yes.
about, just tell us who you are, and then we'll jump into why you started this nonprofit and talk more about the library.
Sure. So my name is Ruba Qasim. I am the co-founder and director of Kunooz Library, which we'll talk about in a minute. I am also a children's book author. I wrote my first book in March of 2022. So it's been a few years. Everyone keeps asking about the second one, but
What's
there
the
is
name of
no.
the book?
It's The Coolest Career.
The what?
The Coolest Career.
Wow, okay. I didn't know they should have brought it here today.
Oh, well, I guess I'll leave you in suspense then and tell you about it.
I'll have to buy one.
Yeah.
Is it a children's book or?
It is, of course. That is my specialty. I'm a mom of two. I was homeschooling up until now. They are in school this year. So that's a new, adventure for us.
How's that been going for you with school, like transitioning from homeschooling to
It is a big change.
Okay.
I guess I would say sending them to school showed me that I was, my feelings about homeschooling were right, my intuition about it. Yeah.
Wait, give me an example. Why?
Okay,
is it like their learning has completely kind of fell off compared to when they were with you?
We're getting right into it.
I don't want to.
No, you know what's so funny? Because I've been wanting to talk about school and I just haven't had the way to do it. So maybe this is the chance.
Right, absolutely.
So here's the thing. Let's backtrack, right? I went to school for education. That's the funny story. So I did early childhood, elementary special ed, right?
Right, yeah.
And towards the end of my bachelor's, towards the end of my college years, I was like, I want to try something else, add something. So my concentration was psychology. And at the time, I still remember my advisor was like, this takes 5 years because it's a lot more than, just take the easy way out. And I'm like, I'm going to do it in 4. And I proved her, wrong. But the last year of school, undergrad is what I mean by school, I did an internship with counseling and I started leaning towards that. Right. And then that next year, it was I was applying to grad schools, and alhamdulillah, the following year, I got into university for my master's, which was clinical mental health counseling.
Mashallah.
But I did dabble in schools. Obviously, I had to as a student, but also I've worked on and off in schools. And the funny thing is, in school, they don't teach you about homeschooling, obviously in education.
Absolutely,
right? Because they're focused on that. But I realized that teachers, I have to give them, major credit, honestly. It's a very overworked, underpaid job.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. And I told myself at some point, so when I had my daughter, I tried it for a couple months, and it was a lot. And then it was funny. And then when I was, when I was having my daughter, when I was expecting my daughter, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I took a job for a couple months. And
as a counselor?
No, as a teacher, actually. Even though I graduated from counseling school, but it was I knew that I wanted to start a family, and I was something, temporary. And then I had my son after my daughter. They're a year and 4 months apart.
Right.
So when I was pregnant with my son, I did it again. And I realized in the classroom, I said, I can't do it. It's either people's kids or mine, honestly. I couldn't handle both. And I knew that I couldn't go back to teaching. Because I always knew I'm never going to be a full-time person, working in an office 9 to 5, that's not my, and I realized I don't like to be chained down, I like to be my own boss.
Yeah, you like freedom,
Yeah, which makes sense about the nonprofit and writing my own book, self-publishing even, because it's no one's in charge of me,
Yeah, no, I love that.
So what happened was, actually, it's a long story, but just the long story short, even though I believe in long stories and I like to say long stories, this is a podcast, right?
I'm all for stories, right?
Yeah, so here's the thing. So I don't want to dive too much into it, but at some point, I think it was during COVID, there was this initiative to start, let's just say, start a place of learning where my children could have benefited from. But unfortunately, it was short-lived. It didn't work out. That's a very short version. I don't feel like expanding. But then I was like, okay, my kids are going to be home, I guess, right? Because it was a negative experience. And then I was like, I need to take a break. But then a couple months in, it was the winter of 2020, I think. So my kids were almost 3 and almost 2.
Inshallah.
So, right? Or 1.5. So imagine 2 toddlers. And I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do with them? I didn't even know what homeschooling was. And then I learned about co-ops, which is short for cooperatives.
Yes.
And then that following year, we joined a co-op. It was once a week. And I was like, oh, I don't know if my kids are ready, you know? And like the first month they were like adjusting. They were like doing so well. And then they wouldn't see me there. And they're like, where are you, Ruba? I'm like, I'm enjoying my 4 hours a week. Leave me alone.
Right.
By the end of that year, I was like, I'm burnt out. I can't do this. I need something more. And then subhanAllah, that co-op became like 3 days a week. And then I was like, this is perfect. And then that year they did 3 days a week, and then it was 4 days a week at home. But then you were still involved with the like co-op. It was like homeschooling families learning together.
Right. So I mean, but how do you like find these families? And how
honestly,
do you trust your kids to go? I mean,
I know, right?
Listen,
Yeah,
I know
that's
homeschooling
true.
is very beneficial. I don't want to knock it because I know it definitely has a lot of added value, right?
Yeah.
But I also feel like, what is the aspect of like, how do you know what's going on? How do you know who's in the house, who isn't in the house? Like, where does
So
that
it's not in the house, actually.
Oh, okay. So tell me
So
more about
yeah,
that.
so co-ops could happen all over. The ones I've joined in the past have been like, for example, at the mosque, right? So at the masjid, it's like you gather, it's together, and you could be there technically. You know what I mean? But it's like eventually you get to know people and you just to trust them, just like people send their kids to school. It's the same exact thing, you know. And then what happened was at the end. So it was like year one, I don't know what I'm doing. My kids are just home and they're toddlers. The next year, I guess, officially was once a week. And by the once a week, it was like 4 hours. The rest, I was with my kids. But then I was like, this is too much. I have I think it was like a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And then the following year, that same co-op became 3 days. And I was like, great, this is what I need.
So the homeschooling is actually just 3 days a week.
It's called a co-op.
A co-op. 3 days a week versus 5 days a week when you're going to school. Okay.
And then, but it's like, the format is very different than a school. It's like even like a class would be nature studies versus science, for example.
Okay.
Or they would be learning cooking versus like history, something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's like very organic learning. Okay. Not all, like everything is different, obviously. Even people homeschool differently. Some people sit with a curriculum. Some people are like I'm more of like I used to be at least, an unschooler, which is kind of like the world is your curriculum. And it's like you learn by being outside or
right
being
now,
with
my
people.
students attend a school where it's also kind of organic learning because they have a classroom set up and they're allowed to explore whatever they want to do as long as it's the premise of that classroom. But they also take them outside and they have to find leaves and look for certain
The high
things.
schoolers? The one?
No,
or
I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh, you mean your kids, your own kids, like your
not
students.
My high schoolers.
Oh,
No.
okay.
So my actual biological kids.
Oh, okay.
Right, so it's the
Reggio Emilia.
Reggio Emilio. That's the kind of learning that they're doing. But I will say, as much as I love it, when they come home, they want to do what they do there here.
And you're not mentally prepared.
Well, I feel like
you're
it's not a
still
controlled environment. Over there is a controlled environment.
Okay,
Here,
okay.
I can't have you mixing like water and juice and doing all this and getting it all over. She's like, this is what I do in school. So I was complaining to my friend once. She's like, Nora, you do realize like this is what you're teaching. Like you're sending her to school to learn this stuff. I'm like, I don't understand. Like she drew on my couch. Like she literally took a marker and
she's like, I'm just using.
she was just like, I'm just an artist. I'm like, you don't draw on the couch. What are you doing?
That's so funny, actually.
My friend reminded me. She's like, that's the learning she's doing. But then I also love it. Like obviously, I love that she's very into art, and she's definitely I feel like has benefited her in terms of like what she wants to do, what she's interested in doing.
That's interesting because when I was in grad school, I got a TA position, and they had on campus a child care center.
William Patterson.
No, actually, Kane. I went to Kane for my master's.
She goes to William Patterson.
Oh, okay. And they also had a Reggio Emilio approach.
Yes,
so I worked 2 full years there with that age group, and they did project-based learning. It was so nice, honestly.
Yeah, it's cool because they work together. Like you give them the tools, and they have to figure out how to make it work, right?
Yeah.
So
really
definitely
nice.
cool programs. But now going back to homeschooling,
Yes, tell me.
Co-op.
Yeah, because
what does a day look like? So you're saying for organic learning, are they spending more time outside? Or are they just again kind of like what my daughter's experiencing, where do what you want in the classroom?
So it's different. Like I mean, every single like co-op is different.
Right?
Just like like I said, homeschooling family is different. Every school is different. Even every Islamic school is different. So in that setting, they were doing. They would have to bring in like let's say do math at some point. I'm giving an example. My daughter at that time, she was like between 5 and 6, and you bring in your own stuff. So you work at your own pace. Right?
Okay.
You're doing that for a time. Then you're doing the nature studies, for example, outdoors. Even eating outside, like eating outside is more, like things that you don't always find in a traditional school setting.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But by the end of that year, actually, it's so crazy. By the end of that year, I'm going to explain how Kunooz and everything happened. That was the 2022 to 2023 academic year.
Yeah.
By the spring, I was like, this is not working for us. I want them home. Imagine. It was like the opposite. And I was like, I miss them. It's like they're gone, but then they're not. And then it's like something just told me, like my gut is like homeschool, keep them home. No. And it's crazy. Once I made that decision, it was like around March. I knew it. Like, it was in my gut. I even started, and I'm very, I don't like labels, but like, I'm definitely more of an extrovert. And like, I have to say my feelings out loud.
You are very extroverted.
Yeah, like,
you're actually pretty funny too. Like, you're so funny.
my humor is just like comes in
that.
bits and pieces. But like, honestly, yeah. Like, so for example, even my like Instagram, right? Like how it started, which is I'm gonna keep going into tangents, but basically like it's like my public diary, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, like I vocalize my feelings. I'm like, and they even encourage me. They're like, Ruba, you should keep your kids home. Like even the, you know, like all the other like families and stuff like that, because based on what I was saying, it seemed like that's what I wanted. And it was crazy because I decided in the spring, and here's the story I have. Kunooz was founded. I was like, but I will not survive without a village of some sort.
No.
So I was like, I talked to one of my friends and I was like, why don't we do something, even if it's a small little thing together. And then she told me about her friend. And I know her friend, like we know, you know, the community knows each other, and we all wanted to homeschool, like be home, but like do something small, very simple. And we even started talking about it. And then she was like, let me tell you about my friend's sister-in-law. And I know her friend's sister-in-law.
Yeah.
And that's who the other co-founder of Kunooz is, Khadija.
That's awesome.
So Khadija and I sat at Qahwa House in May of 2023. And I'm like, she has now, mashallah, like at the time her son was 11 or 12, and she had been homeschooling him from day one. Mashallah. So I was like, let me sit with her and see like what she has to say, because, you know, at that time, I think my daughter was 6 or 7. So I was like, you know, I want to get more, just figure, you know, get some knowledge from her and see if she wants to join us, because she had younger children. Like she also has, we have other kids the same age. Right. So we're sitting and talking, like, oh, it's very casual. You know how that setting, course, like, very, you know, like, let's have some, whatever. And I, like, we knew each other, but like it's funny because people thought when we started we were friends, but like, no, we just sat and I was like, I want to learn from this homeschooling mom.
You synergized, and that's the rest is history.
And then she started talking about books and Arabi. And I was like, oh my God, someone has the same dream as me. And that same day, we're starting and we're not talking to anyone. Yeah. That's when it started. The seed was planted, May of 2023.
Subhanallah.
May of 2023, and like, subhanallah, only Allah was able to make something happen, that in October 2023 we launched. Like from zero to, and from scratch. So what was the process you went through from May to October launching? And now here's the funny thing. The funny thing is, what happened? I was planning to homeschool my kids. I wasn't planning to start a nonprofit. Like that was not on the table. And I'm like, very like, you know, schedule. I like this, and I like to know in advance. So it was the summer, and I think it was like we spent the summers. We would stay, and we would wait till our kids slept, and we would like have meetings like really late at night. You know, in different like bakeries, different cafes, and like in her backyard. And I remember because we launched, I announced it on my page, because we didn't have Instagram. We weren't, we were non-existent. And my page had, you know, Reading with Ruba, which, you know, had been around for a couple of years. So I was like, let's, you know, launch it there and talk about it. And it was like crazy. I'm talking about some idea that doesn't exist anywhere in the world, literally. And it's just like, how do you convince people? But alhamdulillah, like having my platform, I learned, you know, with time, and it doesn't come overnight. Like people see, oh, you're so confident, you're so this. I'm like, yeah, you start from scratch, and you work your way up. You know, like I used to not even record videos. People would never believe that. I'm like, I used to not even, like my voice would not be heard on Instagram. I would just put pictures years ago. And then it was like, okay,
there was
then
a
record
shift
my
also,
voice.
like Instagram also like completely went through a shift itself. Like, it was all pictures.
Now
it's all interest media. Like now everything is all interest media. So whatever you're interested pops up on the algorithm, and then you go from there.
Oh my God, the explore page is a nightmare. It's like you find all these like sad things, but then the happy things, and then
oh my God, don't even. Well, listen, I also think it awakened the world.
I know.
Going on Gaza, but definitely made us look at things differently. But go back to this.
So I launched it there at Reading with Ruba, and everyone was like really excited about the idea, like super excited. You know, they're like, it makes sense. This is Ruba's calling. Like, you know, like, yes. And alhamdulillah, like I remember because we launched on October 1st, we had open registration, and we had limited it because we're like, we don't know what to expect. We don't know what to do. We don't have a place, by the way. We did not have a library, like a physical location. And we had 20 families, and most of them are still with us. It's been more than 2 years. Yeah.
So where do you guys meet now? Like,
so the journey of it, I guess what you could say is like, it's a whole, let's chop it
So
up.
it's
So
kind of like a
basically, tell
library
me.
slash co-op school. But
No, there's nothing, has nothing to do with each other. It was
So when
just
families are
that.
signing up, what are they signing up for?
Okay, so let's, I guess, backtrack.
Yeah.
So we started in October of 2023.
Right.
And as you know, subhanAllah, the daytime of October 7th was our
subhanallah,
launch.
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
we had no idea. I was like, people are like, have you seen the news? Everything, like everything's
Yes,
going
yes,
crazy.
yes.
I was like, no, I have to get ready. I have this launch. And we launched. Again, me like not, pretty oblivious to everything going on. We launched and, people were there,
going
were
about your day
supportive.
normally, yeah.
Yeah, going out I'm like, this is a big thing. It's huge. Like we're sitting here, two people who like don't even know each other that well. And we're like introducing it to people that, alhamdulillah, I know most of the community. So I was like introducing people, talking in
By the way,
Arabic.
Ruba knows everybody. Just
I was like, people think it's like a pro sometimes. I'm like, it's not always good.
totally random. I'm gonna
Tell
let
me.
you continue. But do you remember how we met?
We met at the most, like, all I remember is the physical, you standing at ICPC
Yes, I
Patterson.
don't even
It's
know how I
crazy.
was standing at ICPC. I think I had just finished Quran class because I kept going back.
It was like-
how did I meet Ruba? Because then Sabir told me to reach out to you. So then I reach out to you. I'm like, her number's in my phone already. And then
That's
I'm
so
like, immediately, I'm like,
crazy.
oh my God, this is the woman I met.
It's
that
so
one night at
funny,
ICPC.
and we must have talked about counseling.
And we did talk
We
about
said, right?
She told me she was a therapist. But subhanAllah, I just remember standing there and then suddenly you appeared and you're next to me. We just started chatting.
It's so funny because I remember the
Yes.
exact spot. It's like
Yes,
between the
me
main
too.
entrance and the women's.
And then we don't see each other again until...
How many years? More than 10 years.
SubhanAllah.
That's
That was a
crazy
long
because
time ago.
yeah, because I graduated in, I think I was a student at the time. I think because I graduated in 2016.
Okay.
And then it's funny actually because talking about grad school, in grad school I was very active. Actually in both like undergrad and grad.
Okay.
I was like that person. Like I was the one, those like cheesy people who are waving for like incoming.
Yeah.
That was my job for my undergrad. I was a peer
Okay.
advisor on campus.
Oh, subhanallah.
I was like, yeah,
Waving the families
welcome,
on.
all the-
Okay, welcome.
Yeah, that was like my vibe, right? And then I always had this mission that like I'm gonna let people know, like I'm gonna leave my mark, and everyone will know me wherever I go. Like every
Right.
professor, every organization, every event I'm at. Like it was just
yeah.
in college. I was, past is a different story, but in college, that's how I was. And then when I was graduating, because like I told you, I'm very vocal. The last semester, so it was like January to May, and I got pregnant in June. I kept telling them about starting a family. And they were not convinced. Oh, Ruba, that's impossible. There's no way you're going to stay home. And I always laugh. I'm like, I wish I could go and tell that class, look who's been home for how many years.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I was so into my academics.
Yeah.
Like I was presenting at national conferences and I was getting like awards and like the dean knew me by like name, So it was like such a big shift. And then it was like, okay, I want to keep them home after that, the few years
of
journey I
course.
told you about. And then it was like, oh my God, of course I would start a library when I keep my kids home. Like very smart, Roba. But subhanAllah, it was meant to
Well,
be.
you're driven. Yeah.
Like you make it work. And then we started, like I said, with those 20 families who believed in our mission slowly, and we would meet at ICPC Clifton. So they I'm so grateful to them because they gave us a space, and we would use Khadija's basement. She had the library, like the books were there.
The kids, like, what would you guys do
With our kids?
No, when the families signed up and they're coming to ICPC.
So they would come it was like a hybrid model. So they would come for the programs and we would meet in the masjid.
Okay.
Like all of us, just like people meet in anything. And then they would pick up the books from her house in a treasure chest. And the meaning behind Kunooz is treasures. So for those people who don't know Arabic, Kunooz means treasures because we
Kunooz, I
believe
love that.
that
Beautiful.
our books are
Mashallah.
treasures,
Yeah.
And our children are the treasures of the future. So like that was what inspired the name. And I remember we had practiced it with so many people. We were like, can you pronounce this? Like just to make sure it's, because some people say Kunooz, and it's funny when I say it into my, when you talk on your phone or your
Right.
Bluetooth, it writes it as Kunooz, like Canoes.
Oh, God.
And I was like,
okay.
come on.
So say what I want to
So
make
it's
sure I'm saying.
Kunooz.
Kunooz.
الكاف في ضمة. There's like, the short
Kaf fi
vowel.
dhamme, yes.
Yes. I mean, for those who it matters,
Yeah.
So that year was survival for us as homeschoolers. Both of us were homeschoolers and making this work. But we had a dream that after a year we would find a physical location, even though I thought it was impossible. And then, alhamdulillah, in the fall, so a full year later, we were able to secure a space, which is our little cute, cozy space that is across ICPC Patterson. And it's been almost a year. It's been a year, It's been a year of being in that space.
Inshallah.
And it's been a long journey. I mean, I don't know what you want to know. Tell me.
Well, now, like, can people go there any time of the day, or is it only when programs are, like, are you throwing a program?
Oh, okay,
Like, how do people show up to this?
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's a membership-based library.
Okay.
We knew we needed to limit it to some
Right,
extent,
yeah.
right? Just to keep it very, we're always about quality versus quantity.
Right.
And like you said, oh, you know, everyone, it's funny because everyone always tells me, Ruba, you're always at all these gatherings. Why don't you talk about Kunooz? First of all, I'm like, I want to be a normal person sometimes, but it never works because they're like, oh, you know, Ruba, she does Kunooz. And I'm like, okay, thank you guys for doing the promotion, but just wanted to lay low. The second reason is I'm like, I'm not going to convince people to read books to their kids.
Right.
Because obviously a library is for books. It's not only for books, but if you don't care about it, I can't convince you. If you want to be convinced, ahlan wa sahlan. I'll sit there and tell you about it.
Like, you're not going to walk around and say, hey guys, come join us because this is what I have to offer.
Exactly.
Like, they have to approach you.
Exactly. So we don't. Obviously, there are pros and cons to that. The pros are you get quality programs, quality families, like that have this same values,
families,
you know?
Yes.
Yeah, like the same quality, like the same, not the same quality, but they're on the same page.
Yes.
Right? Like-minded individuals, and that's why like people have built friendships through the library and stuff like that. The cons are obviously it's a nonprofit and we need money. So you're going to have to find funding other ways, right? You're going to have to outsource. You can't just rely on a membership.
And where do you see it going? Let's say, I guess you're going to hopefully look for money and apply for things and hopefully get...
Yeah. So the goal is to apply for grants for 2026.
Okay, inshallah.
The first 2 years, inshallah ta'ala. The first 2 years, honestly, it's kind of like, it's still, you know, you're trying to make it, like, alhamdulillah, people see it and the Instagram's growing and all these cute, like, reels and, like, our content and our programs. But, like, there's only so much like a person can do. And a couple months ago, I was like officially titled like the director. So now I'm managing the whole entire thing. Wow. So it's a lot of work. So it's hard to talk about like funding and money because that's like a whole full-time job.
What would you like to see it as, like, let's say 5 years from now?
5 years from now? Well, one of our missions, like one of our goals when we started was to see it branch out to every masjid, every, you know, area, every community. And alhamdulillah, since we started, whether it was through us or not, or whether like people told us or not, a lot of libraries have started since then. And they have different missions. Like ours is Arabic and English. It's a children's library. It's kind of like when you're writing a children's book. This is something about like not everyone knows, but like children's book is, if you want a good book, you write about a specific topic and you write for a specific audience. So when I was writing my book, now I'm a little switching topics, but when I was writing my book, I was inspired by my two children, and the two characters in the book, there's a boy and a girl, and who are siblings, but I could write about anything. Your kids could inspire you to do anything or write about anything. Yeah. Like I could just write about, like you, even from your conversation with them in 24 hours or your daughter drawing on the wall, right? That could be a book. So I needed to kind of like hone in, like see what audience I want to serve. And then what ages I want to serve, what topic do I want to talk about. And that's the same thing for a library. Everyone wants you to do everything. They want you to bring things for adults. They want you to bring things for teenagers. But right now our focus is the children's library, you know? So.
Well, how important is reading for children? I mean, I feel like now, I mean, you know, obviously in the U.S. we've went down one standard deviation in intelligence or IQ. And I don't know if I think the reading dynamic has definitely shifted. Yeah. People aren't reading as much as they used to. And if they are reading, they're not comprehending what they're reading. Yeah. But one of the things going back to the homeschooling, like for me, like I'm struggling because my daughter's about to enter public school next year. And I'm trying to find a really good private school to send her to because the idea of being educated just to take a test or reading excerpts just to answer something in itself is a problem, because although it's great, yes, I want you to be a good test taker and see like what you know, but I'd rather you understand comprehension, phonics, all that, and I don't think we have that as we used to in this country, right? So what, I guess, you know, where do you want to take it from here in terms of talking about this with children? Because I think it is impacting the Arab community and many communities, obviously.
Most, unfortunately.
What can be done through reading? I mean, we're starting before you even send them to school.
So here's the thing. The thing is through reading, but you're saying it because you think it's simple because you read to your kids. You told me, you know, you have books. Alhamdulillah,
well, I love reading, but that's something I value. Like
exactly.
When I was a kid, it was like it was fun. I'm going to the library. Like having a library card for me was like awesome. Like I was really excited, but it's not like that now.
So the number one problem is that parents are not reading to their children, and like someone has to say it out loud, like, you know. And the number one reason I think is like the digital world. Honestly, that's the biggest thing. And like, you know, to each their own. Like, fine, give your kids screens. I'm not going to talk about screens because everyone knows me. Like, I have strong feelings about them. I'm very anti-screens in general. Like, my kids
get time to screen time?
Very limited. Very they could go a week with 0. Okay, very like, but then I'm like, okay, there are other things. Maybe you guys don't do that. Like, you know, no one's perfect, but that's my thing, because I know I know my kids and I know screens, and they become addictive. Even if I give them one day for the week, they will keep asking for the rest of the week. So for me, it's just like, let's just cut it cold turkey as much as possible. Don't get me wrong, they do movie times and they do different things. If they're with other people, like they know they can, watch things here and there. But I personally am against it. And now people say, why don't my kids read? I tell them because maybe they're on a screen too much. But also parents don't want to read to their kids, or they don't have the time or the capacity, whatever it is. Like people underestimate the power of reading. Like, for example, you're saying before school, right? There's this amazing initiative across all libraries, and I should encourage it more at my, our members as well, called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten.
Oh,
and it's literally what it sounds. It's you read 1,000 books for a kindergarten.
Inshallah.
How does it help? Accountability for me works, for example. So it was like we went to the library at the time when my kids were like toddlers or whatever, and they told us about the initiative, and I'm like, sure, let's sign up. So the first 100 was so challenging. And I came and I was like, this took really long. Like, my kid wants the same book, and she's like, oh my God, you didn't know you can write the same book more than once? And I was like, oh my God, okay. So the next 100 were so much easier, because some people tell me, they're like, my son wants to read the same book over and over. And I'm like, that is a good sign. That's actually a good thing. Good job. And keep reading it over and over. It doesn't matter. Sometimes people come even to the library, for example, recently, and this happens frequently. My kid doesn't want to read, and usually it's the older kids. And I know sometimes it's because they didn't grow up reading. They don't want to say that, and I would never point that out, right? Because it's never too late, I believe, like especially for children.
I will tell you, my parents did not read to me.
But they sent you to the library.
But they sent me to the library, so they were very much on top of that aspect.
Do you remember what age, like how young, or you know?
Well, I mean, kindergarten.
Oh, okay. So you were in
this country. They were like just very much about like getting us into the system.
So you were around books at an early age. I'm saying not everyone is, but one of the biggest things is that they're reading the wrong books. And like, for example, one of the things we pride ourselves at Kunooz is that we choose like the top quality books.
What makes a book top quality, like a children's book, top quality versus not?
Yeah. So that's hard because that's like a loaded question. But I guess like what I would say is, like, for example, there are like poetic books that are so beautiful and lovely, and I own at home. I didn't talk about how actually I started Kunooz, but like I own tons of those books. But my kids, for example, don't read them that much. They'll read them once and that's it. But they're cute, and some people like them. Stories with a plot, for example, my kids relate to more. So I stopped buying the poetic books. I'll still order them for the library, and I'll still recommend them to people on my Instagram, but I know that my kids are not into them. So I'm like, I'm not going to spend.
Well, I think a lot of people aren't into poetry, generally speaking, anymore. I wish.
No, actually, sometimes they're for adults. You're right. Even like the kids' books are written like for adults. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
no, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I totally get it. Yeah, because even though when they're young, like poetry, I guess you expose it to them, but how are they going to process like?
Actually, that's a good question, because that's a good topic, because one of the ways that I built the love of Arabic for my children is through poetry tea time. And this initiative, I guess, was started by a homeschooler. She's like very popular in the homeschooling world, Julie Bogart. And she does it obviously like in English, but she recommends everyone to do it in any language, any form, any setting. And I had, at the time, homeschooling friends tell me about it for years. But until I was finally convinced, because it took so much like mental energy, and people don't realize that because they see it on my page probably, and they're like, oh, of course Ruba would do that. And I'm like, no, it took me forever to be convinced, because I'm like, I have to be in the right state of mind, and it's Arabic, so Arabic needs more. Arabic, for those of you who don't know, is my second language, but alhamdulillah, I speak like, for the most part, majority of the time with my kids in Arabic. Doesn't mean they always speak Arabic. But
you learned Arabic as a second language.
Yeah.
So you were born here and everything?
Born and raised here from age 0. Yeah.
And where are you from?
I'm Palestinian.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah, but you didn't know that? You're learning new things.
Know that.
Yeah. So,
well, I guess I do know that because we saw each other at the party, so we were at a party.
That makes sense. It makes sense. So actually, how it started for me, my love of books, my mom always read to me. I'm the oldest.
Okay.
And my mom started reading to me from a very young age. And she used to tell me that I learned to read at age 4, and I used to not believe her until I went to that preschool that I told you I worked at. And I was like, oh, there is a thing of like as 4-year-olds reading, I didn't believe that. And then it's crazy because like in my teenage years, I was like the one on Spark Notes, and I was like, I did not read like big books.
Yeah.
So like when people talk to me about like adult books, I'm like, don't talk to me about those. I'm a children's book expert. I'm not an adult books. SubhanAllah. So that thing stayed with me. So that's why I tell parents, like, I swear it's going to stick in your, like that seed was planted in me and it stayed, Yeah.
So just to go back, parents should be reading to their children every day. like one book a day at least.
Oh, I wish. But like, I mean, I'm just like anywhere. I don't want to tell someone who's listening to do that because maybe they don't have that capacity. So just read whatever you can.
Yes, read whatever you
Even
can.
if it's like once a week, twice a week, or if your child knows how to read and you don't want to read. Some people tell me, even in the library, some people sign up for the library because they don't like to read or they don't like reading, but their kids do. So I'm like, see, you're doing the right thing. Like you said, your parents didn't read to you, but they sent you to the library. They did the right thing.
My kids
You know?
now, they'll follow me around like, Mommy, read this book to
And
me.
what do you like it or no? Do you like to?
Well,
Or?
sometimes I'm too busy, I'm tired, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. But
No,
no,
it's
it's
okay.
4 books. I'm like, you pick one,
Yeah.
and then I'll read it, and then I get very animated. SubhanAllah, I like turn into like super mom. I don't know what
Oh,
happens.
you're like, there you go.
And then I'm like, can anyone find where the bird is?
See?
And like they're like, there.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
becomes very interactive. So every now and then I do that.
Yes. So that's what I used to do with poetry tea time. And I refused. It was so funny. I actually, at some point, like a couple years ago, got rid of the English poetry books in my house. Imagine. By the way, I'm a lover of poetry.
Yeah.
Even as a child, I used to write poems, and I still have some of my poems. And I should have brought some.
Yeah.
But it was like just like cute little poems from when I was like 8 years old. And I refused to read them because I was like, if I read them English poems, they're not going to listen to Arabic poems.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, don't think everything I read in Arabic I understand, especially poetry. Because I'm like, even English poetry is hard to understand.
Yeah.
I'll be reading a kid's poem in Arabic, and I'm like, I don't know what this is saying, but let's just read it. Why? Because
Right.
their ears can get used to it. SubhanAllah, it's crazy, honestly.
So
you
now,
know?
from the start, okay.
Yeah, let's start.
Like,
Or we're
remember
not
Hooked on-
starting, we're just
well,
like...
right, well, remember Hooked on Phonics? Like,
Oh
I'm a
my
fan
God,
of
I
Hooked on Phonics.
remember
What are your
that.
thoughts on Hooked on Phonics? We don't use it
Man,
anymore.
it's been a while. What was that again?
Hooked on Phonics, just like the sounds, how they come together, and you can read a word just by announcing the parts that go to, I guess, the
Oh my God,
words
I
that go
forgot
together,
that.
the letters that go together.
Yeah.
But I found it to be beneficial. I don't know, but now it's like different. Like I said, now it's more like you don't read an actual book; you read a portion of something, and then you're going to apply that to something, and then you
Yeah.
take a test. So I feel like that part has to do with grammar as well, because grammar too. Like I once read, and actually not read. I listened to Hamza Yusuf's like lecture, and I could be wrong, but I remember he said that you could teach a child grammar in like 2 weeks if you do it right. But then kids are expending a whole year on it. So then it's like, if we actually teach them correctly in the first 2 weeks, what can they be by the time they're like 15, 16, 17 with all that accumulated knowledge? Versus like now we're just putting them through school. Kids pretty much, middle school is pretty much the time that they are interested in school, but then they lose interest as soon as they hit high school. So...
You know what's funny, actually? So with my like homeschooling style, I never did curriculum. Like people really don't believe me until now. People message me like, "Hey, can you just like I'm thinking about homeschooling. Can you give me advice?" And I'm like, I'm not the curriculum gal.
But what did you
know?
do? Like, how do you know like they're learning? Like, how did you assess? I mean, I guess you know your children, but like,
So look, there are
like
pros
I
and
have
cons.
a fear if I
Yeah.
were to do that. I'm like, oh my god, what if I didn't teach them right or they missed something and halas and they never learn it?
So
Time has
here's the thing:
passed.
there are pros and cons. Okay, you know, like not to put my children on blast. I don't want to talk about them like
Yeah, yeah.
here, but like I knew that going to school they're going to be advanced in some things, on track with some things, and behind in some things. Like I knew that, and I even explained that to them. Right? But for example, let's take reading because you asked about phonics and stuff. And I this is another topic I want to talk about, but I'm like, I don't know how to talk about it. It's so complicated. But like, for example, with my daughter at least, like I never sat like, you know what they have now actually, and the homeschoolers know about this, and even schools and teachers and everything. They're called like Bob books, right? They're like the little books, and they're like the I am playing, whatever. I don't know exactly, but it's
Yeah.
like the dog sat on the mat. The dog sat on the mat with Pat, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they're good. I had a friend recently tell me like, "Oh, the Bob's books you gave me are working." I'm like, "Great,
They're called
beautiful."
Bob books?
Bob, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Bob books. So I got them all because I am a lover of books, and I never talked about my home library because we have 1,000 books, and that's how Kunooz also, like, another reason I started it was like, okay, I think it's time to help my community because I'm, you know, doing enough time at home with the books department. So I used to go to book sales. Like, how did I buy 700 books? I'm not some, like, you can't spend thousands. I mean, you can, but, like, I didn't have that. So I'm like, the only way I can buy a lot of books is to budget. So I would go to book sales. And book sales are where you can buy, like, good books, like, decent quality books. Like they're in good condition for a very discounted price. So instead of buying Bob books for like $15 at a regular store or online, you buy them for $3.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I go to book sales, because if I spend 20 there, it's like I could have spent 100, you know? And that's how the
Yeah,
700
yeah.
English
That makes
books.
sense, absolutely.
Yeah, like my current collection now is like around 1100. Around 700 are English books.
SubhanAllah.
And most of them, like, or many of them are from book sales, right? So like, for example, my daughter, like I never sat, I didn't have like the patience, or she didn't have the patience for the Bob books or whatever it was. I just taught her to read generically. Like she learned. People are like, how? And I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. I used to just sit and read for her. I always read for her all day, every day, like for years at a time.
And now you read in English and in Arabic too?
Yeah, we would do both. Alhamdulillah. Like
in one sitting, or like in the morning it's Arabic?
You know, I never had a rule. Even that, I used to wing it, which is crazy.
I kind of like that. I kind of like the
like
wing
that.
it. It's like depending on the day. Because,
you know, it's so funny.
Because that's how life is, right? Life is never...
but that's so funny because as a person, I'm the complete opposite. And everyone thought I was going to be a type A mom. They thought Ruba would be the kid, like if they're going to homeschool, they're going to have curriculum, they're going to have a schedule, they're going to have this. And you know why I chose not to? Honestly, because it was the fear of being the type A mom, the control freak, the whatever, all of these kind of titles and labels I give myself.
I'm also not.
I decided to drop it.
My parents, when it comes to my children, I'm just like, it's whatever, as it flows.
I knew if it was going to either be this way or this way, and I was like, let's choose the wing it mindset. Like I said, pros and cons to that, right? Because usually those are the kids, like you have some issues with like, how are you going to put them in a school setting? Because I knew that was going to be a problem, right? Because like even in schools, like people would assume like, you know, a lot of people, even private schools, like in general, I'm not putting on blast, like some people put their kids in a school and they'll talk about the academic rigor. I don't care about that. Even when I went into my kids' school, I told them that. I was like when I go to the conference, I'm going to ask them about their social, like how are they socially? Are they being kind to their peers? Stuff like that, you know? Yeah. So like the whole phonics thing, like to each their own. Every family learns differently. Every family reads differently. If you want to have a schedule, great. You know what helps people with schedules? If a parent is out here listening and wants to start, my literacy challenges. I do them a couple times a year. To motivate people, and people have told me it's changed their lives.
And tell me more about that. What is that?
Yeah, so for example, it's a free, fun thing that I just literally decided to do one day. It's like once upon a time, I was like, I have a lot of books from the book sale. I don't know what to do with them. Let me make some structure, and I thought of a literacy challenge. It's a month. Let's say it's happening, you know, a certain month, November. Every single day for that month, you read a new book to your kids. You don't have to buy new books. Of course, my kids got used to that. But what you do is you either swap with friends, borrow from the library, and, you know, we encourage our members even to get books from our library. And you would just read a book a day. Everyone would have different themes. And sometimes I would do like Instagram groups so that people share. And it was like so nice. And it was like building little communities here and there. And that's like, you know, my ultimate mission in life is to just increase the love of literacy anywhere I go, whether it's like through homeschooling, whether even through schools, like now my kids' school. And honestly, at schools, I don't think like in general, like schools are reading that much to the kids. There's only so much time. Like I was a teacher.
They're not.
You don't.
I mean, for me, I know it's 40-minute periods. It's only so much you can do. And it's like, you gotta like be on, you know?
You can't. So like, you know, like I'll like donate books here and there, like small, like little touches, like stuff like that. But you find a way. Like, for example, like now that my kids are doing a literacy challenge, like with me, I didn't even get time to like talk about it. And I was like, we're going to read at night or read after school. It's so hard, by the way, now that my kids are in school to read. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like to sit and read with them.
It's exhausting.
I was like, how? No wonder. I was like, no wonder it's so hard. And that was one of the cons of school for me. Right. Yeah. That's why I'm like anti-institution, you know.
Well, for me, like one of my struggles, like I said, she's about to enter public school, and I feel like I don't want to train my kids to be employees because I feel like that's what education has become. It's like a system they're entered just to like learn how to work, right? And what's important for me as a parent is I want to know there's emotional intelligence being taught, critical thinking being taught, rigor, like deciphering an argument, how to argue something, and a lot of critical thinking. So I don't even know. I'm looking to private schools that are really, really expensive just to get that. But I'm just like,
can I be honest?
Tell me. Be honest.
Like a mom or a parent, just because like for any, you know, single families out there, like mom or dad or caretaker is the best teacher. Honestly, because, and this is why I like stayed.
I feel so guilty when you say that.
No, you know,
because I feel like I should be like
leaving
my job to do this.
No.
I'm like,
listen, my kids are in school. That's why I could finally talk about it because I'm like, so people don't think I'm trying to guilt trip anyone. I'm so anti like guilt trip, you know, because like so many people, especially our Arab community in general, they're always about guilt.
It's a me thing.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Because I tell them, I'm like, I swear it's the best thing. Do it unless two things. One is the burnout, because that was me last year. So last year we didn't talk. We keep jumping around, but like I did the year with Kunooz, launching Kunooz and homeschooling, home. The following year, which was last year, 2024 to 2025, I knew I couldn't homeschool. My kids were on a waiting list, and it was a very rough year. Because I was like, I just have burnout and rage. What am I doing with my kids? And that's when we started the library. So imagine how busy. That was a crazy year. I don't even know how we got by, and I'm like, at least my kids still say they want to homeschool. I'm like, thank God they saw something.
So now they went to school and they're like, Mom, we would prefer to stay home with you.
They still do, you know that, surprisingly? I mean, not surprisingly,
That's
but
how I
like,
feel all kids are. I mean, just they want to stay home with their parents. You know,
Yeah.
we're sending them off so young. But I guess, I don't know, it makes me feel bad.
that's the
It really
thing.
does
So
that.
like, even in Islam, right? The Prophet ﷺ said what? To teach them, play with them till 7. لعبهم لسبعة.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. Like, I don't know how many people know that, but like, for example, this first 7 years, and subhanAllah, that's the same thing with Western psychology. Islam is so beautiful because it teaches us stuff from how many years ago that you're learning, like, oh, you know, like, or when they say like all these different things and we're like, we have that in our Quran and our Sunnah, right?
Yeah.
So for example, like, that's what I did. And I was like, I hope, like, God is my witness. I tried my best to be like playful and nice and teach them social, emotional intelligence, because you can't learn it in school. I went through the education field. I was a teacher.
Yeah.
There's no way. I was a good, alhamdulillah, teacher. I was a memorable teacher. I have kids that even I taught in the masjid. I swear that was like when they were my kids' ages, and now they are after college and they remember me and their parents, and they find me in random places.
I love
and
that.
they'll never forget. But how much could one like that? I was going above and beyond, and there are teachers that go above and beyond. Don't get me wrong, but there's only so much you can go above and beyond for a class of 20.
No.
So if I'm going
Or a
above
class
and beyond,
of 30 sometimes.
yeah, actually these days, right? It's even more. So like, that's why I say, like, the social emotional, you can't expect it from a school, even if you're paying them $20,000 a year for per child.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
tough.
And then it's hard, but then I'm like, if you have to work also, right? So it's just like,
So you're saying, in other words, even if it's a private school and it's expensive, that there is still burnout with teachers, and chances are your kids probably aren't going to.
No, it's not burnout. Even if the teachers are not burnt
There
out.
are too many kids to deal with that they can't really give that specialized one-on-one
Yeah, you
attention.
can. There's physically, it's scientifically impossible. Even if they're the most amazing, magical creature, teacher who's beautiful and fun and animated, she can, let's say, pat on your daughter's back and say something kind, but I'm saying she's not going to teach her the core. That's why I'm so into homeschooling. But I'm like, don't do it if you can't, right? Because that was me last year. I was like, am I harming them more? Maybe the school's better, right? Even now, even in this academic year, I'm like, I'm not at a state where I want them home all day, unfortunately. But it sucks. Like, what am I going to say? Like, they're away from school. It takes the whole day. Like, I didn't realize it till I put them in the system. And I never spoke badly about schools because I'm like, one day you're going to be in their shoes.
Yeah. Well, what's your take when people say if you homeschool your kid, that essentially they're going to have like poor social skills? That's like misconception about homeschooling.
That's the funniest. That's so funny because it's the number one misconception, by the way. And it's the number one misconception of my own children. And if you sit with my children, alhamdulillah,
Also, they have a mom like you. I think I'm very,
It's true.
we're very similar, by the way. We have like an animated personality. We're outspoken.
Yeah, so you're right. It does reflect. I've noticed stuff because I've noticed like my flaws also show my kids and my strengths, right? But here's the thing. Also, my kids, they're the first like grandchildren on both sides. So they're around adults. So when you sit with them, you can actually have conversations with them because they just don't know, right? They don't know anything better.
It's funny that you mentioned that because during COVID, a lot of the kids, like let's say my daughter is one of them, right? She was always home. When we took her, I remember she was in daycare, and the teacher told her father and I that she prefers to talk to the adults and not to the kids. And I was like, it's
so
because she
funny.
was around adults and she was forced to be home.
So the thing is, so yeah, like, for example, last year, right? You're saying like, I know all these people and I'm out there, but I didn't have a village, honestly. I had a co-op once a week. That was a different co-op at a different masjid. My friend had started one. It was very nice, very lovely and stuff like that, but it wasn't enough for me.
Right.
So it was like, okay, I'm not burnt out in those few hours, but then the rest of the week, right? But then everyone else has their own lives.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, my kid's in this program, my kid's in that, my kid's doing swimming, mine's doing jujitsu, this person's playing guitar. Literally, like that was, because homeschoolers don't just stay home. By the way, me specifically, it's so funny because it's called homeschoolers and I hate that phrase. Because I'm like, we don't do what they do in school, like in my house.
Right.
And we're never home. So like, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's such a big misconception, honestly. But you have to have a village. You can't homeschool on your own, you know?
All right, Ruba. So tell us more about Kunooz and this library. Who is it for? What other programs you have available for kids? I know you said it was a membership-based library, so tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I told you the history of it, and I talked a lot about the history and my feelings about a lot of things. But this is like my passion project, my little baby. And what we do is it's a membership-based library.
Yes.
Just, you know, like a small fee per month, per household. And you are able to access the library when it's open. So we send our hours to our members. And then you are able to borrow books. So we have a borrowing system.
Nice. Okay.
So, and we have it's like a legit library. So we have like a portal and like a barcode, like all that fun stuff from a library. Yeah, alhamdulillah. We're almost at 2,000 books.
I love it.
Almost like half, but like a little more English and Arabic.
Now, do you accept donations from the community? Like, if we were to buy you books or like give you a book for the library, or you're like vetting each single one?
Yeah, that's the thing. We're very like specific
very meticulous,
about about what goes in the, because we want you to go into the library without worrying about what your kids consume. You know,
makes sense.
Right now, mostly we're serving ages 0 to 12. We are, expanding.
0 to 12, okay.
Yeah, we are expanding because there are families with like teens. And also advanced readers, mashallah. So like we want to get the teen collection, things like that started.
I remember I once had a student. She said every year her goal is 50 books, so she would read one book a week, and that was her goal. She was she was the one only student I ever had who was so driven. She was a senior and she graduated, I want to say, 3 years ago. I wonder what she's up to. I'm sure she's doing well.
I'm sure.
But she was so smart, mashallah. And every week she's like, I have to read a book every week.
And she did.
And she did, yeah.
Wow.
And it's like every year she does the same goal.
You know what's so,
like, you put me to shame as an adult, and I read every day, but I'm not reading a full book every day or every week. I'm dipping and dabbing in what I can, like whether I'm reviewing for psychology lesson or I'm reading a book on my way to work.
You know what's so ironic? Because I talk about reading and literacy, and then I'm like, ask me about my adult book reading, and it's so limited. Like, I was reading at some point. I would say like 2023, one of my goals was like to read adult books, and I actually succeeded. And then when I started the library, honestly, it just like kind of slowed down. And now you'll see me, and I'll be reading kids' books. Like, I will read kids' books for pleasure, to either vet them or to like bring them to my kids or for the library and stuff like that. So the library right now, like we're specific about what we bring in, but we do accept donations from like publishers we know and stuff like that. Alhamdulillah, we have books from all across the world. Like our books have traveled. They have such beautiful stories because like,
I love that.
if we have like a member who's traveling to Egypt, she'll offer to like, bring books, and I'll be in touch with the publishers. Yeah. And they'll like bring the books over, and then sometimes they donate them. We have books from Palestine, like books from Jordan, stuff like that. So we have a lot of books, and then our library, because you were asking what it entails, it also we have programs. And if you look on our Instagram, we have programs for different ages. We have different age groups and different names for our ages. Like because it's Kunooz and it's like treasures, we have like our pearls, our gems, and our diamonds, and like each age group has a different, because a library is for everyone, right? For all ages. I mean, even for adults, right? Because, by the way, when you'll have to come visit the library, but when you come in, it's such a cozy space that the adults love being there. I think that's what motivates them to bring their kids. But like we do programs because obviously we believe in quality, so we don't like do a lot of programs. Well, we'll do. Actually, we've been doing, alhamdulillah, but we don't promise, I would say, a lot of programs because we believe that the program has to have high quality. We're not going to do anything like ay kalam, as they say, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
So we've been doing programs.
Yeah.
So like for October, for example, we had our members step in because, like I said, like there's only so much I can do now, so I've been delegating for the last few weeks. Okay. And it's like anyone here to help. And wallahi, everything like from Kunooz is like blessed by Allah. I'm not kidding, because every single time we think something's gonna go wrong in a program, even if it goes wrong, like even if you can't imagine all the examples of things that you're like, it's gonna go wrong, something literally would go wrong, it would work out. Even if like people cancel, we're like, it's the right number of people. Every time I know that, I'm like, the right number of people will show up.
Now, if somebody wants to be a part of this library, are you vetting families? Like you want to make sure, or anybody has an opportunity? Like,
everyone is welcome. The minute you walk in, you're interested. That's it.
Right.
Some people come in.
So is there an application process? Like they go to a website, or they call you, or what's the process?
So we just closed our registration for November, and there is no process, like I told you. Here's the thing, like half of our, not half, but like I'm just making up a statistic, but like some of our members come because they love reading and it's just natural for them, and then some are the opposite. They want their kids or themselves to love reading and they'll join. And most of the times, alhamdulillah, we've had success stories. People have cut TV and like because of Kunooz, like honestly, like I have a story like that where they stopped it, and because I suggested, obviously me with my, I'm like, you're gonna ask me as Ruba. Yeah, of course. You're gonna hear it all with no filter.
There are moments I have where I want to tell my husband, like, just get the TV out of the house, because it's my daughter was at one point watching every day, and it was easier for me because I can cook, I can do these things. I know. But then I'm like watching her behavior. I'm like, this is unacceptable. So now it's just like no TV.
Because that's sometimes the only way.
I'm not 100%, because sometimes I do need to.
Of course.
I'll give her the phone, but then I'm monitoring what she watching. But I know it's just not good for her brain.
You know what? Every kid's different
and they say the first 5 years you shouldn't be giving them screen time at all anyway. Like it's not
these
good for
days, realistically, they say 2.
Oh really?
And even then, it's hard. I'm not. That's why I'm like, I'm not judging, but I'm like, please read to your kids. Whatever you do outside of the reading world, fine, but please also read to your kids.
My Zane just really doesn't have an interest in TV. I could just
maybe active, like it's too like it's.
He's very calm and he's very chill, but he never like Isla has an interest. She'll ask like, "I want the TV." He doesn't care. Like he'll just find himself.
So it works for
something.
you. There you go.
He finds himself doing something,
Okay,
entertaining
that's good.
himself.
Maybe you could start getting open-ended toys. So at the library, actually, if you come and you'll see that even the toy selection we have, because it's not just books.
Okay.
Because we were talking about
Open-ended
this, right? You were
toys,
saying that Kunooz Library, like, it's not just about books, it's about belonging, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do is, like, we want to make it a space where you come in and it's things you don't have at home.
Yeah.
So all our toys are like, and it's funny because like one of the families, for example, told me that I don't buy blocks and I just tell them we'll go to Kunooz and play because she's like they'll just throw it across each other's heads, you know. She has like 2 boys.
So I throw
so
toys
like,
secretly all the time.
I know. That's why I'm like
Even
open-ended
candy,
toys.
like they work for their school. They participated in the trunk or treat for their school at William Patterson, and they brought home the candy. I took all of that. I threw it right out. And
We have to
Isla's like,
filter
"Where
for our
is it?" I'm
kids.
like, I don't
Exactly.
know.
We
I
have
was
to
like, "You ate all of it." She's like, "No, I didn't." I was like,
You filter what your kids eat. We're responsible. Like even as Muslims, we're responsible. Like we're going to be held responsible for what they do at this age. And I tell my kids that I'm like, I'm responsible. And if they come and tell me this kid did this, we're responsible for what they eat. So you have to throw out the candy. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Responsible for what they watch. So you want to monitor? Great. You don't. That's up to you. But you're going to be responsible. Monitor what they read. I mean, at some point when they get older and stuff, you even have to monitor that. I'm like, sheesh, we're going to have to now monitor what our kids read.
Well, that's why I think
you
also
know?
is important because you're saying you're expanding to like teenagers. I mean, teenagers now with the books. That's
Oh man.
I mean, even as young as 10
not
years
even by the
old.
way, not even the teenagers. Picture books.
Yeah.
Have things that don't necessarily go with
Well, that's a big
values,
thing too,
right?
like entering the school system and certain topics, and people are just like, "What? Why at such a young age, 7, 8, or 9, are they
teaching
learning
about
about certain
topics.
things?"
So that's what our library's about. But some of the people join, by the way, believe it or not, just for the community.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them.
I'm gonna join. I'm gonna sign up.
You're like, I'm joining for the community.
Am I too late?
I'll
Big
fix. I'll
exception? Wait, they'll say like,
No. We'll talk, inshallah, and we'll open it. And
next time you open it, I'll register.
And there are other ways to support.
Okay.
Because not everyone is in New Jersey. So for those of you who don't know, like we are based in northern New Jersey, and what you could do is there are a couple of things. Number one, you could sponsor a membership. So let's say you're just Noura who lives in Tennessee, and you want to your sister Sarah lives here, and you want to gift it to her kids. Because I'm like, that's such
so
a nice
cool.
membership. You could gift them for a year, 6 months, whatever it is. We've had that. Someone did it. It was so nice, and then they ended up joining. Because they did it for like a year, and then like that family was like, you know what, actually we want to stay on like with you guys.
I love that.
And then we have the caretaker campaign, which helps us sustain the library because obviously we cannot run without donations. Like we are a nonprofit and we're a small one, and it's really hard. We haven't like been into the grant world yet.
Well, and how are you seeking donations like right now?
So those are the ways. So the sponsoring a membership helps another family, but the caretaker campaign is where you're paying whatever amount you can afford once a month.
Got it. Okay.
But then our third campaign, which is near and dear to my heart, which is the sponsor a bookshelf campaign, and you sponsor a bookshelf in the name of a loved one, someone who inspires you or someone who passed, and you want to keep their legacy on, and that. Like all the donations go to buying more books and funding programs.
I love
actually,
that.
and then you have a plaque in the library.
And I'll
of their
link
name.
it here for everybody, so this way, at least if they want to donate.
Yeah,
now,
different
say
ways.
if somebody wanted to expand Kunooz in a different state, are you guys? Are you there yet? Where, if somebody wanted to take the same concept, name, and everything, but it's under yours, like kind of what is it, franchising? I guess the library, is that something you've entertained?
You know what's so funny?
You're like, no, I gotta be involved.
You know what? You got it. You got my vibe, right? But you know what's funny? It's so funny because I keep saying I'm not a businesswoman. I'm like, Ruba, come on.
The director's showing up. Make sure everything to the T. I can so see
Alhamdulillah,
it.
you know what though?
I love it. I love it.
But you know what?
We need
Alhamdulillah,
to be meticulous. We need
listen,
to be.
no. But I've realized, alhamdulillah, like being a leader is not for everyone. But alhamdulillah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but like I believe like I'm an effective leader. Like I'm very,
You're an effective leader,
you know,
mashallah,
like a down to earth approach. I'm not that like intimidating type. I don't even know how to be. You know, like I've never
Well,
been.
you're highly intelligent. You're
Alhamdulillah.
really funny. And you're a great personality.
Thank you.
So that's
so
awesome.
like you know what I mean. So like people have asked us till now all the time, asked us from day one. And by the way, you know what's funny? When we first started, you know what people said? Oh, I've always wanted to. And I'm like this. Here's the thing. I'm like, y'all could have a wish, but you don't have the drive. Straight up.
Right. Well, remember, the genius is never an idea; it's an execution.
And I'm like, and this is something like I would tell people: if you have a dream, this is my like cheesy thing.
Yeah.
Like send off. It's like no dream is too big because I'm like, if I could start a library that I never thought in a million years would happen, if I could write a book that I was on my bucket list that I thought in how many years am I going to do that? then you guys could put whatever dream you have in mind. You know what I mean? Like whatever dream
You have to want it
you
enough.
have. You have to want it enough, and you have to have that passion and drive, you know?
I remember once I was in therapy, and I was telling my therapist that I really wanted to lose weight, right? And his response to me, he's like, "You don't want it bad enough." He's like, "That's just the reality. You don't want it bad enough." I'm like, "No, but I do." He's like, "No, you don't." He's like, "If Harvard," he's like, you value education. He's like, "If Harvard called you right now and said, we will give you a PhD, but you have to do X, Y, and Z, what would you do?" I was like, "I would do X, Y, and Z." He's like, "Exactly, because you want it bad enough."
Yeah, and you know,
and it's so true. Like in anything you do, you have to want it bad enough to be committed.
Exactly, and it's like the reading thing or the library thing. When people say I don't have the time, how many years since for the first most of my kids' lives, I used to say that about the gym. I don't have time. And then someone, I don't know where I heard it or where someone told me, and it was like a wake-up call. I think it was a lecture, I'm pretty sure, because they were like, don't say you don't have time. It's like, it's basically not a priority. So now when people say, I'm like, sorry, it's not that you don't have time for reading, that you don't have time for reading. It's not a priority. Just put it up there, you know?
Right.
Just like, because like sometimes you have to be told like it is, you know? So I hope that if someone's listening and you got to this far, thank you. And I hope that this inspires you to read, whether it's a nice way, whether it's
I mean, listen,
some people work with nice ways, some people work with tough ways. And then like in Arabic, they say tarhib wa targhib. Tarhib wa targhib is like versus like the different ways, where either it's like nicer.
Our people is like very like habibti or wahyat Allah, like, if you don't pick up that book and read it.
The Palestinian approach, since we're talking about Arabs, is more of wallah, and it's like
wahyat Allah.
And you say you're not going to be your parents, and then you do have those, you know. And I'll say the things.
I said to my daughter, wahyat Allah, if you don't pick this up right now, and she's like, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. I have to say it that way.
I know. Oh my God. So it's like,
well, really quickly, what's your take or what's your opinion on Audible books? Like, what we have Audible, and I do listen to books, but I definitely value reading a physical book over listening to a book.
You gotta come on, touch the book,
smell the pages, flip it. You know?
I'm very old school because there are apps for both English and Arabic. There are Kindles and stuff like that, and I refuse to get on them. Even like
so you don't like Kindle either, even though it's
no, I don't like, but I'm saying
you don't prefer
if people can read, please read in any shape or form. I don't care, but there is a difference when you, the parent, the caretaker, the primary guardian, read to your children. It is an experience. Do you know that I don't read to my kids when I'm mad? I swear I will stop mid-reading and I'm like, لا خلاص أنا معصبة مش راح أقرأ. And I will tell people, I'll tell my kids, I'm mad, I'm not reading to you right now. I'm not kidding. You know why? Because it is the happiest. It's when I'm at my best. And I always say, if I want my kids to walk away with one thing, for me, I'm like, please, just one thing, at least let it be reading. Let it be. I don't want them to hate it. That's why I didn't teach them, because I don't want them to hate learning. I'm going to be the old school, yalla.
Yeah.
You know, those like memes and stuff. There's like 5 plus 5, ya ibn al excuse me. Hopefully no kids hear this, but like, you know, it's just like that.
But it's so true.
Because I'm like, I'm not going to do it. That's why.
You gotta make it fun.
That's why I'm like, hopefully they learn something good in school this year. You know, even writing, even though reading and writing are so essential, I never taught them writing.
Well, you need to start with reading.
That's why.
Now, really quickly, I want your professional opinion on this. How do when a kid's reading, how do you know they're understanding what they're reading? Like, what is the comprehension? Because anybody could read, right? And people are reading, but they don't really understand. So, what techniques or strategies? I know, for me personally, when I don't understand, I'm highlighting the word. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna understand it. I'm gonna try to use that word. Like, let's say conniption.
I was like, are you putting this as a test? No. That's not in children's books.
I just recently came across that word. I haven't heard it in many years. So but she threw a conniption. She was in a fit of rage.
That's so funny.
Or another one was perturbed. I'm so perturbed. I'm thrown into a great confusion. I'm confused. I'm totally perturbed. But in any event, so I'll go the extra mile to understand something, right? But how as parents, when our kids are reading, how do we actually know that they're understanding what it is that they're reading?
So I'm so unconventional and this is
not Ruba still. We're just a random average,
Like a random. No, I meant the opposite. Okay. I will sometimes read a book start to finish, even if they don't understand. I'm like, we're done. Because whatever it is, by the way, whether it's I don't have time, I don't feel like explaining. Sometimes there are topics that are deep. Yeah. How do you read a topic, a book? A children's book could be deep.
Yeah.
There are books that are deep. There are books that evoke a lot of emotion, especially if you have a child who is, mashallah, very advanced and ask questions. There are certain topics and books that I've avoided because I'm not ready to answer questions.
Right, yeah.
For example, really heavy topics that we're switching gears a little bit, or like
someone passed away
grief
or something.
is a huge one.
No.
Right? And there are Islamic books about it. There are Arabic books, not enough, out there a little bit. There are obviously the mainstream, really powerful books about it. about different emotions too, by the way. It's not just about that. But it's like every child's different. And it's kind of like the news. Not everyone exposes their kids to the news. You know, so like it depends on how far you want to go. Sometimes my kids don't even want to read the author. No, sometimes they want to keep reading. For example, here's an example of a way that my kids, kind of book that my kids really like, based on a true story. Why? It's still picture books, so they're still reading with mama, even though if they can read on their own, they can. But it's that experience. They still have the read aloud experience with me. They know it's like really cool because it's a story, so it's usually written well, actually, these books. And it's like something real, so at the end it's like, oh, this was because this happened, and you know, this person grew up to become a pilot, for example. I still remember that, like Ron's Impossible Flight or something like that, you know? The stories actually stick with you, you know? So you don't always have to read for comprehension. Sometimes you can read for pleasure. By the way, some books have no meaning and no point, and they're just funny. Like they're actually just funny. You know what I mean? They have no like. It's not they have no. It's just like there's no lesson. It's not like the end of the story means okay, now you have to share with your like siblings or something. It's just literally like a book that makes you laugh, but you're still exposing them to literacy. So, you know.
Well, I have a book that I want to show you real. So this is the book. The Rabbit Listened. I love this book. I read it to my kids all the time. So let's go through, like, this is Ruba opening up her book.
With my kids or with any kids?
With your kids, like, what are some things, I guess, to have parents know that when you're reading a book, like, these are the fundamental things that you should be doing. Like, what I do, for example, when I open a book, I'll say, like, oh, look, what do you see here? You know, what color is that? Like, I'm pointing out other things that really aren't related to the story. Okay. Sometimes. That makes sense? Like, can you count how many clouds there are?
Okay, so this is so funny, actually.
Right, so
you know what?
That's the right way to do things?
No, this is so funny that you're doing this. You know why? Because I bet you, more than anything, everyone thinks that's how I read. And it's the opposite,
what is the right word? I guess what is like the best technique? Not necessarily the right way, but what techniques do we make sure that they are engaged, it is fun? And because let's say with my kids, when I do that, like, can you count how many clouds? Or can you count
that's why sometimes you're tired.
1, 2, 3, and then they get super excited. Right? And I'm like, simmer down, we're about to go to sleep.
But you know what? That's so funny because maybe that's why you don't always want to read because you're doing so much when you read. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot.
Yeah, I get into
so many books. That's why.
Because I'm trying to get them to critically think and be aware. You know,
so when I'm reading too, you said.
Yeah, they start young.
They start young, but you don't have to do it that way. So just read
it, Adi.
You just read, and this is actually one of this is a personal favorite. The Rabbit Listened.
Okay.
Actually, and this is a really sweet one. Actually, this is actually considered a deep book, by the way.
Oh, really?
And I give you an example of deep, because one thing I would say is, and I'm guilty of it, so I'm putting myself on the spot, is don't have your phone when you read. Yeah. Especially because like the time I was reading like last year, and I'd have like 5,000 things to do for work. And they're like, Mama, stop touching your phone, you know? Yeah. So please don't learn from me. Do not.
Rule number 1,
move your phone away. Okay. Or sometimes I'll like literally answer like one of my family members and I'm like in the middle of reading a book, is it urgent? Then I'm like, next time just put your phone on silent.
Yeah.
Because no emergency. If there's an emergency, figure it out in 5 minutes.
Now it's reading time. That's it.
Sometimes, honestly, if there is something urgent, I literally will text, and I have so many group chats. Oh my God, let's not go down that WhatsApp road. But I'll send them. I'm about to read with the kids. Like I'm not going to be responsive, honestly, because I want to enjoy the time with the kids, but I want to be attentive to whatever urgent matter is needed.
It needs to wait, right?
So like I would read this, right? And like you could do what you're doing. That's beautiful. I'm just saying, realistically, if I'm sitting there reading, if I've read thousands of books to my kids from age 0 or whatever till now, I'm not going to be able to do that. So, like, my kids might want me to read 5 books in one shot. I'm not going to sit there and be like, let's count the clouds.
No, right.
But here's the thing. Sometimes you can, it depends. Like, your kids' ages, for example, you might just point out the animals, right? For example, right? Like, your boy likes animals. He talks about different animals. Other times, for example, when it gets more deep, like my kids, I think, actually, we were gifted this book. I just remembered. My friend gifted this to my kids. Yeah. And, it shows you know the book, but basically I don't want to go into the idea of the book, but the idea is that like no one's listening to this kid, right? And then it was just like
everyone's offering their own.
Everyone's offering their way. Like this is for adults. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but some of these children's books are for adults. Some of it is for our like the inner child, and like I was, for example, like someone saying like no one ever listened to me as a kid, right? So sometimes like we're healing ourselves through our children through reading. We're not living vicariously through our children, but a lot of picture books have healed me, and like they're so nice to like read. So there's no right or wrong way. You can sit and do it slowly, but sometimes I just read to read.
You know what's popped into my head when you were talking about
this is a good one.
The book about grief. I remember I was watching Omar and Hannah with my kids, and the woman's father passes away, and I was like bawling, crying.
Kids are like,
Like, why are you crying, Mom? You passed away.
Yeah, you know, because sometimes.
Do you know the scene?
No, not like I don't know that much. Honestly, I think they used to watch that with my mom or something. Omar and Hannah.
Yeah, that's such a cute little cartoon. But
Yeah.
I was like bawling, crying.
But you know,
So I think you're right. Sometimes it is really for the adults, and the kids are just like, "What the heck is going on here?"
and
Why are you
that's
crying?
why, because we talk about right as like in counseling and therapy
Yeah.
and psychology and all of that, and sometimes people ask me for advice, right? Before like they have kids, and I'm like, please, please, please get help. I promise. Like there will be problems that come up. Like if there aren't, that's something. I'm sorry. Like congratulations, mabruk. Like you're perfect. But like unfortunately, in the Arab world, I'm gonna talk at least as Arab right here. We're talk about Arab narratives. It's still a stigma, unfortunately, but there are more people like going into therapy, like, you know, getting help, being better.
Yeah.
But please, I'm like, please be better, even if not for yourself or your kids, because sometimes you can't convince them. You know.
Now, when it comes to therapy, do you recommend? Let's say this is totally random, had nothing to do with books.
Yeah.
But you've been educated under counseling, and do you recommend that it's a good thing for people to do therapy?
Adults, yes,
Because sometimes I have heard the argument that the history of therapy and how it started really isn't actually good for you. And I guess for me, you know, I'm right now in school to become a therapist, but my approach is so different. Like as opposed, like I don't really necessarily believe in constantly talking about your past and like kind of reliving it every single day. Then it's like, how are you going to grow and evolve from it? So I'm very much into the solution-based concept. Like, what is the problem? Let's find a solution and then move on. Right, but I don't know if that's, I guess, the right approach right now.
So that's so funny because like you said, that is my in my degree. I've never worked in the field. Like people ask me now, like, oh, your kids are in school, you're gonna do it. Even my mom, she's like, you know, like the Arabs.
We need more Arab Muslim therapists.
I know. I was like, I should, but I don't feel like it's the right time. I don't know. Maybe because Kunooz is like my passion, and I'm like giving so much to it, and I enjoy it.
Maybe start like a video segment, or maybe a little
Everyone
10-minute podcast where you don't have to be on camera. Just talk about like how to process like grief.
There's so much, you know what I mean? Like to say, and there's so much to say and so much to do, and that's why like even for this, like find your thing, right? Find your niche. Yes, find your niche. So like for example, like I'm the opposite. Like if I were a practicing therapist right now, right? I would not. If you're in my office, you're gonna talk about your past, because that is how I healed.
I'm not completely against it.
But it's funny because I'm the opposite.
I just think like spending 5 years in therapy where you constantly talk about the past all the time, and I'm like, what is the point? Like you're gonna be, because you know how the brain is. Like you live the trauma, you feel it, and you're kind of like just reinforcing it in many ways. You're kind of taking those neurons and you're strengthening that connection.
You gotta take it out.
And somehow like this happened. Okay, that was then. It was a different body, brain, experience, and that was the cards that were dealt for me for whatever reason, right? But here's what I can do with it now.
Yeah, of course. Here's what I can do with it now is important, but you need to talk about it. Right. And so many people, especially, come on, let's talk about the Arab, and let's say all the Arabic phrases when you talk about therapy. خلاص كبرت. Our parents' generation, for example.
كبرت مجنونة or...
That's right. Even this generation, though, I will sit for how many times telling people about therapy openly, which I never used to do. Like going to therapy, just to convince them at least. Like I'm not just saying it for nothing, right? Because even me, who's in the field and was in therapy, right? Like didn't want to talk about it publicly, right? Or even to people. It's just like let me trickle it into this group of friends, this friend. And I'll tell certain people I'll talk to about therapy because I know they need therapy, honestly. Well, I tell everyone, I'm like, you all need therapy. And they're like, oh, you know, that's so, like kind of like this generation, our generation it's so nice, but... And then it starts. Once it's but, forget it. It's kind of like the gym. Like I really want to go. I want to read it to my kids, but you know,
don't want to heal bad enough.
Exactly. Or here's the thing. What is one of the biggest things that people don't go to therapy is because they feel like there are too many issues, and they can't change it. Like there are too many. Where do I start? What do I do? How do you fix it? How do you do?
Well, I think
like I'm so damaged. You know what I mean?
It was Western therapy. It's like you can cut. Like now, it's like very common. You set boundaries and you cut off your family. Our culture is like you don't cut off your family. It's not like a thing you would do where you cut off your parents. But I also think there's a way to. Well, here's the thing. Sometimes Islam teaches us all of this, right? Like when you're married, the role of the mother-in-law, the role of the father-in-law, the role of the husband and wife, the children, etc. We all have a role to play, right? we, like Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we can't be popping up someone's house
Exactly, even that,
unannounced.
subhanAllah.
But like parents will do that. So it's just like if we were living in a way that Islam, because Islam gave us the how-to, like we literally have the how to do life, right?
Yeah.
So we were following this. I feel like we would eliminate a lot of these issues that we have in the community.
Because
right?
Muslims aren't perfect. Islam
No,
is,
exactly.
subhanAllah.
Islam is perfect, but we aren't.
But here's the thing. But for example, like لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق, which means that you cannot obey someone if they are telling you to disobey your creator. So if you're even parents, right? Because people take the bir al-walidain is a huge thing, like being. We're gonna go. I don't want to go in too deep, but like now we could say as parents, and we're like, haha, yes, we could be those. You must listen to me. Jannah is under my feet. You know all that. It's like, but like honestly, like if it, whatever is like against Islam is wrong. Subhanallah. Yeah. And even us, like anything in our religion that's forbidden, out of two things. It's either harmful or najis, impure.
No.
You know what I mean? But like you can heal with Western psychology in some ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can take bits and pieces, but not everyone's self-aware. People are not even aware they have issues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's a whole other world. But I believe, please, if you're listening to this, get therapy. And if you're not a parent yet, listen to this. This is your chance, I promise you, because things will come up, once you're a parent.
All right, Ruba. So now it's time for Yalla Let's Pop. We have a water here.
What do we pop?
I'm trying to cut back.
What does that mean?
Yalla Let's Pop. I'm gonna give you little
Let's
questions
go.
here and there to get to know a little about your personality. But I kept them short for you. I know you, Ruba. I know.
Yeah, let's see.
Yes.
Do you know me?
You're like, I don't answer the question.
No, I'm ready actually.
So
I just don't give short answers. So this is a test.
Okay, so
let's see.
book that changed your life. What's a book that changed your life?
Wow.
The one you wrote.
It wasn't like a. There is one, the rhino suit. It didn't change my life, and it was after all my dreams were accomplished. But it was like it healed my inner child.
Oh, I love
that one, and it was similar. Like it was in that same category of like the rabbit. Listen.
Okay.
That one's like I read it to my kids. They had no idea.
Children's book for adults. I love it.
Right? Yeah. So that one.
All right. Do you prefer coffee or tea when you're reading?
That's so funny because none. But I am like a social tea drinker, and now I'm like a tea person officially.
SubhanAllah.
All kinds.
Well, who is one author, whether Arab or English author, everyone should read?
And you're saying children's books because
Children's books.
Taghreed al-Najjar. She's amazing, and I can't wait to go to Jordan one day and have some chai with her.
I love that.
She's written over 70 children's books, and every single one is good.
And do you have them in your library, some of them, or no?
Oh yeah, my home library and in Kunooz.
I love it. Okay,
yeah.
So we're going to have to pick it up at some point. All right, do you prefer shawarma or falafel?
Oh man, okay. So I like my shawarma, but I like the lahm shawarma. Like I don't like djaj shawarma.
Okay.
I don't know why.
That's fine. A lot of people like lahm shawarma.
Yeah, I would say shawarma.
Anybody you recommend has the best shawarma?
Noor al-Sham in Patterson for lahm shawarma.
Okay.
Without bandora or basal.
All right. Finish this sentence.
Okay.
To me, reading is
freedom.
Oh, I love that. It definitely is
it's
freedom.
Very freeing.
Absolutely. Because anything and everything can be taken away from you, but what
freedom,
the knowledge you have, that's yours forever.
And then reading is connection. It's like it's my connection with my kids. It's my connection to like that outside world.
Yeah. All right, I love it. Thank you so much, Ruba.
You're very welcome. I really enjoyed this.
And I hope everybody goes and follows Kunooz Library.
Reading with Ruba.
And Reading with Ruba. I'll link it before, below for you guys. If there's any questions you guys have, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Ruba herself. Let me tell you, this girl is the real deal, and I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
So thank you. All right, bye.
Bye. That was good. That was nice. That was fun.